Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you have.
Dzień dobry wieczór.
Bill, he speaks
I've learned a little Russian, and so I
many
like to use
languages.
it.
Welcome to the class 9 of course 2, Buddhist Refuge, and this is probably the most important class of the whole course. What?
Get ready to hear that a lot more.
We didn't sleep this night because of this class. We had a lot of discussions, and let's probably start with just with something.
Yeah, as a bit of confession, I came home from the gym yesterday and was going to sit down and study and realized that this class is a lot more complex than the other ones. And then both Ida and I had the same experience where we both woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh God, I don't know this class well enough to teach.
No, you woke up 3 a.m. I went to bed 3 a.m. because by 3 a.m. it was completely clear to me what to teach.
Yeah. So just a warning ahead. If you ever teach these classes, I felt like it was almost like,
you know your stuff, right?
well, yeah, but the earlier classes were fairly easy if you've been around for a while. This one wasn't. And then I thought it was really interesting that when Geshe taught this in Mexico, he left for the last two classes and let another student teach it in front of a big audience in a different city. I thought, oh, that's kind of funny because it ends up being a warning to the teacher that they really need to prepare ahead of time and not save it to the last minute. Because as the ACI courses go on, some of them will be a lot more difficult than others. Course 12, course 13, course 15. I mean, you're not going to be able to sit down the night before and study the material. And so I think it was a warning to get prepared.
And this is the class that if you will really understand it, it will change your mind forever. Mm-hmm. And maybe you will, I know that Peter Myrtle met his wife Maria after he taught for the first time this class, the same day, the same exact day.
Maybe not everybody knows, but Peter Myrtle is one of the bigger teachers in this group. How many, like 2,500 students?
I don't know, something like that.
Yes, it's several thousand students. Peter and Maria live in Vienna, mm-hmm. and teach to a European audience.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking, wow, it was fairly easy for me to understand this class yesterday. I mean, it's very unusual. You will see, you're very fortunate if you're listening today to this class, because to be honest, yesterday we had some completely new insights we have never had. Even we were learning for a while this material, and we had completely new insights, blown us away just. So I was thinking why I have this karma, to understand these things. And getting ready today, I realized that I was translating the same exact class in Moscow exactly 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Oh, no, 4 years
ago.
Yeah,
there you go.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago you were here.
Yeah, 4 years ago for Peter Myrtle, teaching his Russian students. And strange enough, I was wearing exactly the same jacket I'm wearing today. It was completely by chance. So this is how you can create the seeds if you translate and you help teachers, etc.
Like Harry Potter's sorting hat or something. It's like the jacket you need to understand the proofs of emptiness.
My love, this was exactly the same jacket when I met you also, by the way.
Very valuable jacket.
So let's go to the class. And also as a confession, because we were thinking with Bill that many people, they are new and we do not want to overwhelm them. And then we do not want to really go into proofs of emptiness. We will show to you all the proofs in the beginning, because you may easily get confused. You can find them in your reading materials, but let me start with sharing my screen. Yeah, and by the way, we should start actually with collecting some more good seeds, right? Which I wanted.
You know, do Sashi put me?
Yeah. Beginning. My research this night ended up in 15 additional slides. So you will see. I'm switching to this slide. Okay, I know why. Because it should go at the end. Just a moment. This is what happens when you add slides at the last moment. But I think we'll be better with the slides.
Okay.
That's it.
I like the picture of this. It's a good one.
Okay. Yeah. So artificial intelligence got tired of me this night.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Isn't that artificial intelligence? It's really amazing. Like the images, you know, was able to pull up are extraordinary.
Yeah, and it didn't. I didn't took me much effort.
And even that's our karma to be able to do it, right?
So this is how traditionally you would think you would you would focus your mind before listening to the teachings in order to plant even better seeds than the seeds you will spend during this class. So you can close your eyes, or you can read together with me. First, we offer the mandala, which is actually paradise. This is how I was thinking we can imagine paradise, something like that. I like water, I like flowers, people. So here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind, I make them a paradise and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalam Kamniryatayami. And the second is refuge and the wish. I was thinking that I want an angel flying in Chicago. So this is the Chicago River. So I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and community until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach enlightenment for the sake of every living being. And now you know already what these 3 jewels are, Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, and Sangha jewel. So you know why we do this prayer. Basically, we think, okay, I will use my correct worldview to reach every single goal in my life. So,
and you know that all 3 jewels are related to emptiness.
Yeah. So let's start then in the form of confession, because we were not happy with the way we presented the 5 proofs. It is not in the homeworks. You will not be asked to name all of them. But because we have received several questions, and we had a discussion between ourselves, between us, we decided to just put on the slides and read it for you, all the 5 proofs as they are. Because today we will dive into one of these 5 proofs, and there is a reason for this. Okay, let's just do quickly all 5 proofs. So the first one was the
No, that's not it.
reasoning of one or many.
Okay.
Consider 3 knowledge: basic knowledge, path knowledge, and the knowledge of all things. They do not really exist, because they do not exist neither as one nor as many. For example, they are like a reflection in a mirror. And this one we will go into big details, into details in the way it will be really clear for you what it means.
Yeah, that'll be a fun discussion of it looks a little technical, but there's a genuine meaning for it for you, and we'll get to that.
So, and at some point you may just relax and think that this is like a massage for your brain, you know, like maybe there will be some ideas you were never thinking about today in this class. Okay, the second one was the sliver of diamond reasoning, and we mentioned it during last class. It's easy to confuse it with another reasoning that is called 4 possibilities, things arising of.
They were very similar, and I think there was a little bit of confusion yesterday.
Yeah, we got confused yesterday between these 2, but actually this is the sliver of diamond. Consider basically all things. They do not arise ultimately, because they do not arise from themselves, from other things, from both themselves and other things, and from without any cause.
And we did talk a bit about this one yesterday.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. The third one is denial that things which exist or do not exist could arise. And this is about the fact how they come from the results. Consider results. They do not arise ultimately, because for the results which exist at the time of their course, they do not arise ultimately, and results that do not exist and at the time of their causes, they also do not arise ultimately. Results that both exist and do not exist at the time of their cause, they do not arise ultimately. And results that neither exist nor do not exist at the time of their course do not arise ultimately. Relax, okay?
Yeah. This was the seed and the sprout discussion.
This is a seed in your mind. You don't have to understand it right now. Yeah. The key to understand it is ultimately, do not exist ultimately. But you do not have to learn it or by heart or answer homework questions, okay? Then this was the one that there was a confusion yesterday about 4 possibilities. Denial that things could arise through any of 4 possibilities. Consider all functional things, they that comes from causes, the functional things of causes and results. They do not arise ultimately, because multiple results of multiple causes do not arise ultimately. Single results of multiple causes do not arise ultimately. Multiple results of single causes do not arise ultimately. And single results of single causes do not arise ultimately. Again, relax. This is the proof.
It's not on your homework. It's just general knowledge.
It's just to correct some inconsistency from the previous class. Then the king of reasoning, or the reasoning of dependence, that one is pretty easy. We consider all things performing a function. They do not arise really because they depend on other things. We checked as their causes and conditions. That one is fairly easy.
Or depend on their parts, depend on their causes, depend on.
Okay. So, and now I was so happy that artificial intelligence can create such great pictures. This is a picture that for me symbolizes our lineage. And to be completely honest, I will stop slides right now. So you could see us closer. To be completely honest, we are in this lineage in 2,500 something years, more or less 45th generation, depending on what we study, right? About 40 something, right? And there were 40 plus individuals who walked this path.
If you're in the Vajrayogini lineage, which you will be if you keep going.
Yeah.
Long story.
Open teachings, there is a lineage. Secret teachings, there is a lineage, right? There were people who figured these things. They had same problems to study proofs of emptiness that did not make really sense to them. And they succeeded. They realized it. And now what I suggest is, because this is crucial, it is very, very, very important for you to understand this class. It's actually a life and death, even more than life and death question.
Don't worry. If you don't understand it, you're not going to die. You've got it's a little complex.
Yeah, you will die later. You will not die today.
But I think you probably have a few years. There's not a deadline on that by this weekend.
But if you will understand, you don't have to die. You see. So close your eyes. We also will do the same. And do 10 breathing movements like exhales and inhales. To bring your mind into here and now. Imagine that in front of you, a little bit higher than you, you can see your teacher. Maybe you have a physical teacher, maybe not, it doesn't matter. Imagine an enlightened being who comes in a physical form that you can talk to. To help you to get enlightened, to stop all your problems. And in his heart, imagine that he has all the lineage, everybody, whoever walked this path. They had the same exact issues. And they overcame these issues and realized this knowledge and all the ideas. They can help you. They want to help you. And now, in your heart, ask for their blessings. Ask for their blessings to understand this class and this proof that you will study today. Imagine that your teacher gives you a blessing in the form of white light, comes to your tip of your head and enters your body, dissolves into it. And imagine your teacher is coming to your tip of your head and gets smaller and smaller, like a thumbnail, made of light, completely pure, beautiful. And the teacher enters your central channel and travels to your heart. Ask them to stay and teach, for you could understand and practice. Go back to your breathing. Open your eyes. Okay. Now we're ready.
Can you get the blessing of the lineage like that? If you hear the Dharma, if you can read the Dharma, if you have a teacher who can teach it clearly, it's only because you have the seeds for that, right? And so you can bring yourself closer to the teachers who have it that way. It really works.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read the first question. You ready?
No, not yet. Remember, we wanted to say why we're here, how we ended up
Okay.
at this class. And so, just a moment, let me share my screen. So, why these 5 weird proofs? We talk about perfection of wisdom, and perfection of wisdom has 2 parts: books, remember, teachings, and realizations in the minds of individuals. So this is how in this course we the flow goes. We have troubles, issues, life sucks. We don't know how to change it, how to stop, I don't know, diseases, deaths, and we go for shelter. We need protection. We need help from somebody, and This is why this course starts with 3 jewels. First classes, they are about the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, the Sangha jewel. Then we say that it is better if we walk this path with bodhicitta, because then you do not reach lower nirvana, but you will reach the Buddhahood at the end of this path, right? In order to reach nirvana and Buddhahood, you need direct perception of emptiness.
And just to be clear here, they're two different things entirely, right? Nirvana, and we'll talk about it in the first question, but nirvana is, you reach that by having a cessation of all your mental afflictions. And you do that by having a direct perception of emptiness. You do not need to have bodhicitta to reach nirvana. And so that's a lower track. We've talked about it.
You can reach nirvana in higher track also at the 8th level.
But it's confusing, right? And so nirvana is, you do not need bodhicitta. Buddhahood, you have to have bodhicitta. And so don't get those confused. An Arya is somebody who's had the direct perception of emptiness. An Arhat is somebody who has reached nirvana, and then the Buddhas reach full enlightenment. And so you reach the bodhisattva levels after having had the direct perception of emptiness imbued with bodhicitta. So,
right, thank you. To reach this direct perception of emptiness, we need all these different proofs, because we need to understand what the emptiness is empty of. And we were talking about Gaksha also, remember? And then you get to perfection of wisdom. So what happens? Want to add something?
The perfection of wisdom is the direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta, right? That's there's the books, and then there's the direct perception of emptiness with wisdom, with bodhicitta.
Yeah. Okay. So there is when you come close and you start to study proofs of emptiness, as maybe you have had already this impression, intentionally put these 5 proofs in the beginning, and you're like, what? Like, does not really make sense. I cannot really wrap my mind around it. You really need this thing that is called kelva. Kelva is a good karma of serving that ripens in a way that you start to understand this more and more profound teachings. And this is why I was talking about me translating, because I remember first time doing this ACI course too, I did not get it at all. I was thinking I understand it, I didn't. And after that, in several different occasions, I was thinking I understand it better, then even better, but only because I was constantly helping somebody, teaching somebody. Bill had the same path. He was serving his teachers for a long period of time. He did his 3-year retreat. So if you do not understand these things, and I bet you will be able to understand the proof that we will review right now. But if you don't, please don't get discouraged. It means that you have to help somebody to understand these teachings. You have to serve, maybe become a volunteer, maybe an assistant of
serve whoever is near you. You do not need to travel to the United States to serve anybody, but yes, serve whoever is near you.
It's all online, my love.
Yeah.
So they can serve from their houses. I mean, or just help other people, right? And dedicated to do it. So let's, This is what happens when you really try hard to understand these proofs of emptiness. You have an impression that you are banging in the wall with your head, you know, and again and again and again, and it's not clear at all. I swear to God, this is every time that it looks like, it feels like when you approach in these teachings some concept that is a little bit unusual for you. And then at some point, because you serve, because you try so hard, it cracks a little bit, you know. And when it cracks, it's just one moment you have, I think I understand, you know, I think there is something in it. And then the next moment, guess what? You're like, oh, what was it? You know, I don't remember anymore. I think I understood, but did I? And then you're back again. But guess what? The wall is already cracked. It will not get fixed. You know, there is nothing to fix. You will do it again and again and again. And what will happen, thanks to AI for these images? Yeah, this is how AI has seen me. And the wall just disappears, right? And you see the world as it is. I hope so, that we will see it. So please don't get discouraged. You will definitely understand this class. Just stay with us, okay? Another thing that was why I was not sleeping till 3 a.m. and Bill also had issues with, is that in the previous class, you have heard in one form the debate, and in this class, especially if you, like me, missed just one phrase that Geshe Michael said in this class, then it will be an issue. But actually, the debate was in the form, consider the three knowledges. They do not exist truly or really, because they neither exist as one thing, nor they exist as many things. And then the example is a reflection is in a mirror. We are not interested in this right now. And in this class, we actually go down to something that is even easier we defend just one part of this debate. Because the opponent probably, he said, no, it's not true, like it's a bad reason. Then we have to go down to small parts of the debate to prove the whole thing, right? And we say, okay, forget about one thing in many things. We will prove that even one thing does not exist really. Then, you know, if there is no one American, there are no many Americans. If there's no one Ukrainian, there are no many Ukrainians. It's obvious, right? So we say, consider three knowledges. They do not exist really as one, because they have parts. And it is very sexy, because I think we had a breakthrough today. Bill had a breakthrough, and he shared with me something that I really never heard studying these materials for 10 years. And it will be at the end. So why it's such a big deal they have parts? I mean, it's strange, right? Let me do the logical flow, then I switch to you. So there is a logical flow, actually. Is it true that three knowledges are neither one thing that really exists, or many things? I mean, come on, three knowledges are three. So it's more than one, it's many. But why do we say that it's neither one nor many? Because if we will agree that everything that exists in the universe is either one or many, then there are no other options, right? We will review all the opportunities. And then if something cannot exist as one, cannot be many. And this is how we are down to this, to actually, it will be question 1 in your homework. Let's prove that existing is one is impossible. I don't know if I did a good job with it, but I did my best. You have anything to add?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is the first question. Consider the 3 knowledges, they do not exist as one because they have parts.
You can keep going.
Okay. Why this is important? I mean, it's so obvious that it is shocking. Because how we see the world, I think, let's stop the screen sharing. Why it's such a big thing? Because the way we see the world is totally different from how it exists. Like we think, we see things, but they are totally different. We are under this illusion, like everything, I think this is one bill, this is one Inna, whole Inna, she's whole. These glasses, I even call glasses, but I think that this is one thing, right? And it's never one, because they have parts. If something has parts, it's not one, it's many. But how we see it, like, let me show the screen. This is why I was so obsessed with Impressionist paintings, because you come close, and this is also, by the way, done by artificial intelligence. I asked to increase to zoom in the right bottom corner, and it did. So you come close, and you just have, how you call it?
Magnification?
Strokes, right?
The brush strokes, yes.
Brush strokes. And it does not look like anything, like any form. Then you go backwards, like you get some distance and you see, oh, this is a sea, and this is these are like flowers or plants, like grass, but they are just strokes. And you think, wow, my mind bridges some gaps, like blind spots. It's not actually, it doesn't look like sea from short distance, but when I go back, then it does look like a sea. So if something has parts, it cannot be one thing. It cannot have its own nature because it's not one single thing. It's so obvious that it is shocking. There is some other process that should be in place to make these many things, like this part, middle part, to make this the whole. There should be some other process, and you know what process is. It is called seeds, right? So it comes to question 2.
And we keep going.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
Keep going.
Okay. So when we say that something really exists, we mean that it exists independent on its parts. Like we even give names to things, right? But our mind just collects several parts together, right? So we mean that the thing exists independently on its parts as a whole. This is basically the case. We cannot perceive one thing, because if you will, I think that's the next picture. Yeah, okay. If you will, even with the pen, right? Like what my mind is doing. I'm asking, what is this? And the seed pops out, and I have this picture, right? Thin pen. This is the pen. Then I start to look at it. Does it have parts? Yeah, okay. This is the upper part. This is the lower part, the bottom part. This is the center. And when I start to look for parts, I forget the whole. My eyes, they are going from here to there. And then I get a little bit scared because I'm getting lost in this parts thing. And then, no, what is this? And then suddenly I see this one picture again. Oh, this is a pen. And I forget about parts. And I never can see the way that I think I should see. The whole thing consisting out of parts and the whole thing together. I can never do it. So how to prove it? I can never see the back side of this pen. Now you can see it. I cannot see it. But if Bill will ask me, does this pen has the back side? I will say yes. Why I'm so sure? I don't see it, right? Like when I look out of the window, I can see a building. Why I'm sure that this building has the back part, right? Why I do not think that this is just a wall. Why I think that this is the whole building. I even can catch myself picturing people walking in this building, you know, not only the walls and the roof. Or this is also very important picture for me, because first time I realized this proof was when I was driving behind the car, and this is how more or less I think about the car. It should look more or less like that. But it was late evening, and this is what I was seeing at the road. I have seen only something dark and two red lights, right? It even does not look like a car. But I think it has the front edge, you know, there is a wheel, there is a driver inside. How do I know who is feeling these blind spots in my perception? And boy, does this guy do a bad job. Because guess what? It feels this stuff in a way that it should die, right? And if we figure how it happens, then we can do something with this process. Okay, well, that was my intake.
She was very excited this morning. We got up this morning and she we woke up about 8 o'clock and she couldn't stop talking about it. She was so excited that she had a
slow down.
She was so, was very excited about this morning. She's been talking about it nonstop since she woke up this morning.
I brought my computer in the bed.
So,
okay. So who is feeling these blind spots, right? The backside of the car. And why so lousy that I have to die? You want to do this, my love?
Sure. So on to question 3. Svatantrika, right? Lower middle way, which is the school that this course is in, says that having parts applies to everything, right? And then they go through, and this is like Geshe Michael was teaching this class 30 years ago. He hadn't finished his Geshe degree. He was still studying with Ken Rinpoche. He
was getting ready to his Geshe debates.
He was getting ready for his Geshe debates. He was traveling occasionally to Tibet to go study, but he was mostly studying with Ken Rinpoche in New Jersey. And so the teachings at this point are going to reflect that. They're very, this is very traditional Tibetan type logic and thinking. And so now they're just going to, they're looking at, are things really empty? And then they're going to divide it into different categories, which it's useful for you because when time comes, when you're meditating deeply, what will trigger you into that direct perception of emptiness is this understanding of the nature of your world, that things don't exist the way that you think that they do. And so they're just breaking everything down into different categories.
I personally, when I heard it for the first time, I was thinking, wow, that's the scale, you know, that's amazing. Like guys, they didn't say, oh, okay, let's consider something like, you know, small part of the, let's consider all existing things in the universe, like everything.
Yeah, but the idea is that all of this should stand up to logic. All of this should be reasonable. It should apply to anybody who has a mind. It should apply to anybody who's experiencing samsara. It's not just Buddhist. It's people who have a mind. You know, if you have a mind and you're stuck here in samsara taking parts, then these are applicable. And so that's why they're going to say like anything having parts, does this apply? You know, and so then they're going to break down what reality is. And would you put the slide back up?
Wait, I'm sharing.
So this is interesting. So all things in the universe, and they're going to say changing things and unchanging things. Can you imagine anything that was both changing and unchanging, or neither changing nor not unchanging? So you can see it's going to include everything, right? Either things are changing or they aren't. There's no third or fourth alternative. And so changing things are the same thing as saying functioning things, right? It's everything here in samsara, like my glasses, the pen, my body, names, and unchanging things. There's only a few of those. That's yeah, there you go on the slide. Sensations, empty space, and emptiness. And we'll talk about those in a minute. Changing things, this is interesting. Physical and mental, right? So in the modern world, modern scientists, you know, again, my son studied neuroscience in college, and he would bring the papers home and I would read them with them. And when they write, they're just assuming that mind is coming from the brain. And in this worldview, we're going to say it's something separate, right?
Totally separate category, right?
Totally separate. And there's, you know, frankly, quite a lot of evidence that it's separate, but you wouldn't know it from modern science. So anyway, changing things are going to be divided into physical things and mental things, the mind, and then the physical outside world that's around it. And then they're going to divide both of those into gross, meaning obvious, and subtle. And basically, and it's really pretty simple. All of these things are going to have parts, and then they're going to go into a discussion of why they have parts. And do you want to discuss why each one has parts, or do you want to, how deep do you want to go into this?
Let me show this picture because I think it is important for you to understand that as soon as we will prove that everything has parts, then nothing exists truly. There is no one thing that has real, true nature, self-existence, etc.
And it took me, frankly, a long time to figure out why something doesn't exist as its parts, right?
Yeah.
Like why does a pen, so like taking physical things, right? I get that it's not one thing. I can see it's got this little silver thing and it's got this silver thing.
You get that this is not like whole indivisible, right?
Yeah, right. So I mean, I get that it has parts, but why isn't a pen equal to its parts, right? And we're in the 50-50 school. We're in the lower middle way school. And, like Ina just went through, all of these parts, you're not seeing the whole pen. You're just seeing a part of the pen. And like I can't see this side unless I look in the camera, and but I can't see this end. And even as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing this silver part quickly. Then my mind goes over and sees this silver part quickly. And while I'm looking at this end, I can't see that end. And it's not really, that part right there isn't a pen, right? It's a silver thing. It's my mind that's coming out and labeling the parts pen. So the parts are there in this school, but it's not until your mind labels it a pen that it becomes a pen. It can't be a pen until your mind labels it. And so that's why they're going through all of these different categories to show you that it's not just the physical thing, right? Because this has parts. You can see that it's my mind that's labeling it.
But your mind think it's a whole thing.
But yes, that's why it's deceptive. We think pen is a pen by itself, but it's not a pen by itself. Your mind is labeling it that. And you can catch your mind doing it with all the different parts. And then they go through all the other categories, which, I mean, it's getting to, we've discussed quite a bit today, but it goes through all the other categories to make sure that it applies to everything in the universe, and that there isn't something that's just self-existent.
And I want to show what artificial intelligence makes when you ask it to give you a pen. Like, this is a pen. And then the next picture will be...
Artificial intelligence likes fancy stuff, doesn't it? It didn't give you a 10-cent hotel pen. It gave you like a $500 fancy store pen.
Yeah.
I guess if you can make anything, it knows to make expensive stuff. Who would guess that artificial intelligence would have good taste?
I think that it has some memory from my previous requests, and because I was a little bit picky, maybe this is why I get the pen.
Why isn't it drawing 10-cent pens? Why is it drawing $1,000 pens? It's cool, isn't it?
Okay, then this was the image of a pen. Now a pen that consists of parts but should be as a whole image. Ready? Like this is how our mind thinks, like the pen should have parts but actually is one whole thing. Then look what the artificial intelligence thinks about it. Ta-da!
The steampunk pen.
Like all kinds of stuff, right? Like it didn't know what to make out of it. There are parts, there is a whole pen over here. Like it does not exist, like
Fancy.
pink elephant, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so and our mind, we think that it's normal to see one whole thing, but it should consist of parts in the same time, right? It's impossible. It is completely impossible. And this is the first part of proof. As Bill told you, first we go through gross physical stuff. If we prove that it consists of parts, that's it. We are done. We proved that it is empty of its own nature.
Yeah, and so that was the discussion on gross physical parts, was the pen. And if you read through the answer key, they use a hand. But
yeah, you can discuss it.
But
take whatever example.
Relatively obvious. You want to do subtle physical?
Yeah, let's do subtle physical. So the subtle physical, we talk about atoms, right? And this is a funny thing because in Latin or Greek, atom, atome is non-divisible. And then we know very well that they are divisible.
That non-divisible is divisible, yeah.
Non-divisible is divisible.
The divisible, non-divisible.
Non-divisible from divisible is also divisible.
And the translators just gave up. Please don't quit.
Stay with us.
It's funny, in the class that Geshe Michael gave, I think my karma ripened really quickly because I was trying to listen to the class, and it's some complex ideas, and he speaks incredibly fast. And I was like, oh wow, well, why do I have the karma to hear him speak too fast to understand?
Yeah, I was surprised because Bill, he is a very fast thinker. And today in the morning, he was complaining about Geshe Michael. And yesterday also, you were complaining about Geshe Michael speaking too fast.
Yeah.
Really?
He would have a really deep idea, and it would actually be in the class, but he would say it so fast, and the recording was so horrible. And anyway, I will try to speak more slowly in class.
Because you have parts.
Yeah, because I have parts, right? And things can change. And they function because they have parts, all of which, yeah.
Okay, so subtle physical things. This is also relatively easy. Because if you can imagine an atom, okay, whatever, quark, neutrino, take anything you want as a smallest particle. All modern science is still built on this funny fantasy, I don't know how to call it, funny assumption that there is a smallest indivisible physical part, and everything consists, like a Lego, like out of Lego.
Yeah, some kind of ultimate physical part that can't be divided further.
Yeah, and then everything just is made out of it, and that's it, we're done. But if we will think about an atom, let's imagine I'm an atom, and Bill is another atom. And this atom tries to approach the other atom. And then what if they touch? Oop.
Ting.
Ting. Ting, ting.
Ting, ting. Yeah, she always says ting, ting.
It means that I have one side and another side, right? Like left and right.
Okay.
And he also has left and right. If we have left and right, don't look for anything else. These are parts.
Mm-hmm.
If we have parts, it cannot exist on its own as one thing. It's already two things, right? Right and left.
Mhm.
And in ancient times, I mean, people were not stupid. They realized what you were talking today, right? About this idea, indivisible particles that
Oh, partless parts.
partly.
Some of the lower schools in Buddhism that are below, again, we're lower middle way, but the middle way is the highest school, right? So like, you know, if this is middle way, then there's Abhidharma, Sutrist, mind only. Like the, I believe it's the Sutrist we'll talk about. So
Mind only, they had branches. And
yeah, and
schools.
it gets complex when you read through the books because the schools aren't always that distinct. But there, some of the lower schools will talk about partless parts, right? Some of the schools will talk about atoms, you know, as being the ultimate thing that's out there. Others will talk about, well, okay, they realize there's a problem with the idea of atoms, and then they'll talk about partless parts.
Yeah, like I don't have, as an atom, I don't have parts.
Yeah, yeah.
I am the smallest physical thing that is partless.
And so then if that were the case, if there was an object that was a partless part, right, has no parts, has no left, has no right, no up, no down, but it's still physical, right? It's just partless. And then the
Then
thing is,
we cannot touch.
yeah, if two of them touched, right, like if two partless particles touched, then there would be, yeah, yeah, there'd be no left and right. They would be in the same place, but won't, right? Because if they touched,
there are parts.
which if they're physical, they should be able to touch, right? And if they touched and they're partless, then they're all in the same place because there is no left or right. And then if that's the case, you could put another one there and another one.
And it will be still same place.
It's still in the same place, right? And so you could keep doing this until everything in the entire universe was in one little partless part. And
it's not the case, obviously.
And we're going to deny that. We're going to deny that that's the case. We're going to deny that that's possible. That you're not going to, that if it was physical, it wouldn't all fit in like that.
Yeah. You see how beautiful it is. I mean, I cannot even touch you, you know?
Yeah.
Because if I touch, there is a left and right.
Yeah.
There is the closest molecule or atom that touches your shoulder.
Yeah, everything would start falling into each other, right?
Or if even if we stay with the parts thing, right? There should be one part that touches your part, but this part also has parts. So it is completely impossible for me to touch Bill. Yeah. I hope you're confused enough. Let's go to
it's things have parts. It's not that complicated, right? Yeah. And they're going through a very detailed discussion of it, but things have parts. And if things have parts, then they're empty. And we'll talk a bit more about why this is all important at the end of the class.
Don't forget, the most important is the way we think about things and the way they really are is different. Like we think as a whole, like one indivisible pen, but we know it is divisible, and we cannot even see all the parts in the same time. Right. We are bridging the gap. We constantly are feeling this blind spots, like the backside of the pen that my eyes do not see, right?
And if things are empty, you can change them, right? And that's the whole point, is that you can, this is a useful discussion because we're looking at our ignorance and trying, you know, like if you're human and haven't had the direct perception of emptiness, then you've had this mistake in your mind since beginningless time that things are self-existent, that there's a limited amount of change you can make in your world. And But if everything is empty, then you can change everything. And that's why we're looking at this, right? To understand that everything is empty. Everything that's physical, everything that's mental, everything that's changing, everything that's unchanging. It's all empty. Everything can change. You can get out of this cycle altogether, get out of suffering altogether.
Okay, let's go to cool stuff.
Okay.
Mental things.
Mental things.
Oi.
Yeah. Gross physical was easy. Subtle physical was a little harder. Mental things.
Mental things.
This is actually really cool. This is it's an easier clue, I think, that you're creating labels that are making your world. Because if you start looking at the way your mind works, it's anyway. I think it's kind of obvious that you're taking these little pieces and creating an imaginary whole.
Let's do gross mental things.
Great, do gross.
What is, first of all, I think it is very important here to mention what mental is, because people, they have all kinds of misunderstandings. Physical is something that can be shown as physical. I mean, something that has shape and color can be touched, right? This is physical. Mental is, the definitions are mostly something like that: clear and aware, or transparent and aware, or non-physical and aware. This is the definition for mental.
Of mind, yeah.
By the way, from this definition, you can figure that thoughts are not mental. The mind flow, right? The consciousness, how you call it, whatever you call it, is mental. Something that is aware is mental, but not one single thought on its own, right? Thoughts are, strange enough, physical. And when you study yoga, you understand better why they're physical. So let's consider gross.
You can mental. Feel your thoughts move through your body.
Let's consider gross mental things, like some kind of realizations, right? Or understandings. Like, for example, you study yoga and you come to some realization. So this is a gross mental thing. Or your mental state during the divorce, right? A bit more tragic. Or during the war, or something like that. So this is gross because it starts, and there is a start, and there is an end. And if there is a start and there is an end, then there are parts, definitely, right? Or we can pick 5 paths, right? It's also a mental thing, like it's a flow of realizations in the mind of one individual being. And it has parts because 5 paths, right?
It is the 5 paths of your spiritual life, right? Accumulation, preparation, the path of seeing, the path of habituation, the path of no more learning, the path to go from being like an ordinary human to being an enlightened Buddha.
Yeah, so that's it. Done with gross mental things. Then what could be a smallest mental thing, right? It is a moment of your mind, they say, right? So, and usually this is what we think, this is what we think our mind stream consists of, right? Our mind, like from out of the moments of our mind, like 1 millisecond, 1 millisecond, 1 millisecond. But every single moment of your mind has also parts, because in the stream of these moments, you have different milliseconds or seconds or whatever, different moments. And one moment is closer to the one beginning of the moment is closer to the previous one, and the end of the moment is closer to the next one. So it does have parts. So that's it. Same idea with our mind. We think it's a one thing, but actually it has parts.
Yeah. And the reason why your mind is functioning like that now is your karma. Your karma has you experiencing things on a moment by moment basis. And what happens is people start realizing that it's not inherent in your mind's nature to experience things at 65 moments per second. People's awareness starts expanding out. And then that's you'll see even people who even are on the path, they'll have some knowledge of something in the future. And it's because that it's in the nature of the mind. You don't have to be locked into the single moment. And then, when that expands out far enough, when you're omniscient, that's how you can see all of time, all of the past, present, and future. But even ordinary individuals who've never studied this can have moments of perception of things in the future. And that's pretty well documented, that can happen. If you haven't experienced somebody in your life doing that yourself.
Okay, so done with mental things. Then what left?
Let's see, what are we on to? Oh, unchanging things.
Unchanging things. And there are three types of unchanging. Almost infinite changing things, and only three unchanging.
Yeah.
And this is emptiness, empty space, and cessations. Do they have parts?
All of them have parts. This one, emptiness, everything has its own emptiness. The pen is empty of being a pen. The achki glasses are empty of being glasses. Achki noushniki, yeah. Earplugs. AirPods.
Earpods.
Yeah, so like AirPods are empty of being AirPods in and of themselves. So every object has its own emptiness. And they're going to say that all of this is a part of the emptiness of the entire universe.
Mm-hmm.
So there are an infinite number of emptinesses that are all part of general awareness, general emptiness.
Yeah, empty space is easier.
Yeah, much
because,
easier.
North, south, west, east.
Yeah, up, down.
Up, down, yeah.
Left, right.
Okay, done, proved.
Yeah,
Cessations.
Parts.
This
one's the hardest one, I think.
I think it's easy, right? What is cessation? Is a permanent stop to something, right?
Yeah, permanent stop.
The permanent stop, some of it can be closer to earlier events, right? When we had mental afflictions. Yeah, there is a beginning and the future parts, right?
Yeah.
So and another division is it can be a part of realizations in the stream of an enlightened being, right?
Right, like so after you have the direct perception of emptiness, you have a cessation of your mental afflictions. And originally either 2 or 3 of them are gone. And then remember, this is the 84,000 that you eventually lose.
Yeah, also another division, right? Cessation of intellectual doubts, cessation of
wrong worldviews.
Yeah.
A belief that things are self-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different kinds of cessations. Cessation of mental afflictions.
Yeah.
In future. So that's it.
Well, they're going to say that these are parts. These cessations are part because the Buddha has had a cessation of ignorance about everything, right? Because there's an infinite amount of things that the Buddha is aware of and is no longer ignorant about, that those cessations are just one part of an infinite number of cessations in the mind of a Buddha.
Yeah, and I remember when I was studying before, and did never make sense to me why they talk about three knowledges. Frankly, it bothered me because my teachers would say, okay, forget about it. Why it is three knowledges, can be 3 apples, 3 bananas, 3 flowers, or whatever. But honestly, I know that in these books, if they write something, usually there is a very deep reason. And until this morning, it was not obvious to me why they were talking about three knowledges. And I think this is very cool. Well, do you want to talk about it? Because that was Bill's realization last night.
Yeah, it was bothering me also, because I was like, wow, this isn't, what's Geshe Michael doing, right? Like, why is he talking about this? And it seems a little academic, a little, a little hard to understand.
Even difficult to understand what this knowledge is.
Why are we doing this, right? And so, again, Geshe Michael is studying for his Geshe degree at this point. It's very formal. And this is one of the major things, like, because he's editing out the Geshe course, right? And so why is he picking this out of everything? And so the first difficulty is when they talk about the three knowledges. You're like, well, what do you mean the three knowledges? It's simple, and you already know what they are. It's just a different term for something you already know. Basic knowledge is the direct perception of emptiness of somebody who doesn't have bodhicitta. Path knowledge is the direct perception of emptiness of somebody that does have bodhicitta, right? And so basic knowledge, the person knows about emptiness. They've seen it directly. Path knowledge, well, because they had bodhicitta, they can now see the path to enlightenment, right? They know that they're there on that path to enlightenment. They can see their enlightenment. One of the things that happens after you have the direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in your heart is that you can see the day that you will be enlightened. So they have knowledge of the path. So basic knowledge of emptiness, path knowledge of the path to enlightenment, and then the knowledge of all things. Okay, so you can probably guess now the knowledge of all things is total enlightenment, the enlightenment of a Buddha. And so they're going through these three things that they're calling it the three knowledges, because these are the three realizations you need to have these are your spiritual goals, right? The lower one of reaching nirvana, of being a bodhisattva, and of reaching enlightenment. And they're going through these things to prove that they have parts, because if they prove that they have parts, or they're proving the emptiness of these things, right? Because if they're empty, then you can get it. If they're self-existent out there somehow, then there's a difference between you. If they're, okay, I'll repeat that one more time. If things are empty, then you can become them, right? Then you can reach them if these paths are empty. If the paths are self-existent, if the three knowledges are self-existent, then there's going to be a distance between you and the three knowledges.
Because you have different parts.
Yeah, because you have different parts, right? Like, or they have something that's different than you. And so, and why is this important? Like, in current Christian thinking, I don't think Jesus was mistaken. I think the church is mistaken. They're going to say that, like, God is a separate being than you. You can achieve union with God, but you can't become God. And we're going to say that the emptiness of a Buddha is the same as your emptiness. that you can achieve Buddhahood because you can gain these three knowledges. You can gain, nirvana, the bodhisattva path, or enlightenment. You can gain it. They're all empty. It's possible. And so it makes it possible to become a Buddha, right? Like you're not limited in your spiritual progress. There's not something different about you and the ultimate being. And that's why they're going through this. And that's why that's important. It's telling you, you can end your suffering. And it's a very formal, very literal, very logical look at it. So that's why it's here, and that's why it's significant. And in Geshe-la's class, he said, "Oh, they just want to show that they're not self-existent." And he says it about that fast in a poor audio, and he goes over and like, oh, he understood the importance. And everybody else was kind of sitting on the side. Anyway.
Example, like my seeds, okay, I think that I am a whole person, like how to say, I have my wholeness, right? I think about myself as Ina, as a being, right? As a person. I cannot see this person. I cannot feel it. It does not exist the way I think it exists, because my mind is covering the blind spots. Like there are a lot of days I do not remember me doing anything. I have just, I don't know, if you will ask me what I was doing like 10 years ago, the same exact day, I don't know. There is a gap in my even thinking about myself. But my mind, it bridges this gap. My seeds, they are covering this gap. And only if I have a seed to see myself as a whole, then these parts will be combined as a whole. If I have the label Ina that covers some parts. But why don't I change the label onto the same exact parts? Is it possible? Yes. If you have parts, it is possible, because then you don't have your own nature. You can be an enlightened being if you have parts.
Yeah, if you're empty. Your emptiness is what allows you to get rid of your suffering.
You can stop your death. You can stop death of every single living being. So this is why this proof of emptiness is important. And this is, I tried to make angels in Chicago. I don't know if it will look like that, if we will use these three knowledges or not.
Oh, is that a bird? I wondered if that was an airplane behind him.
Airplane, maybe biological airplane,
Yeah.
bird airplane
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, planes are cool, but it would be fun to fly without an airplane.
Or maybe bird airplane, a living being.
Yeah, that's why, like, when you see stories of miracles in the old text, and most people now would say, oh, they were just being superstitious, or they're exaggerating, or they were ignorant. I would say exactly the opposite. I would say somebody understood emptiness really well. Somebody was really brilliant and knew that they could walk on water, or part the seas, or fly through the skies, because things are empty. And that's possible. They understood that even the physical laws of this planet are not self-existent. So.
And basically that's it. Then now close your eyes.
How many people ran away? 71. Okay.
Not many.
Yes.
If you made it to the end of the class, now you should have a big coffee meditation.
Yeah, it's not fair online. They can run away. If we were all in a room, they'd be embarrassed to walk out. They'd have to stay to the end.
Okay, next time we do it offline. Okay, close your eyes, and you spend almost 1.5 hours. We were massaging your brain, and you were trying to grasp to things that you probably were never thinking you will ever think about them.
Mhm.
And this is why you're not enlightened. This is why you have to die, because there are things that you do not understand. And try just to be just crazy happy about the fact that you made it to this class and you tried really hard to understand these concepts. And even be happy about future seeds that will ripen because of this class, and you will be able to stop every suffering for every single living being, including yourself. And we will see angels in Chicago and other places, and we will see the world completely changed. That's it. Don't forget to say thank you to the lineage and to your teacher who was helping you to grasp to these ideas. Open your eyes and see you in 1 hour for the last class in ACI 2.
Don't get worried. It's just a really logical explanation for why you can end yourself.
Yeah, and you can. See you.